We're back here in the chat room, the talk behind the headlines, Laura, Susanna, Rochelle, and we're talking about this. So you've heard of food trucks before, but have you heard of sex toys trucks? One of them is coming to the Do Division Festival this weekend. And well, there's some people who are not too happy about that. They're not thrilled about this sort of public display giving out sex toys right on the streets with a very large sign above this truck explaining what they're doing. In other cities, they have cracked down on it. They didn't like it. Boston's one of them. They tried to ban this truck. It's sponsored by Trojan, and they say, well, look, this is just about opening up a conversation about this issue, and that's what we're doing. You can get one if you want. You don't have to get one. But ladies, I have to ask, you know, when you hear something like this, does it belong on the streets of Chicago, right out there in the open?
It's business. It's business. The condom business is almost $500 million a year. Trojan's the #1 leader in the U.S. And Durex, which is the #1 leader in Europe, is coming in trying to take their business. So this is part of Trojan's overall master marketing plan, and I think it's really smart for them to protect their share. They spend almost $40 million a year in advertising, and this is one of the ways that they're spending their money. I think, you listen, if you want one, get one, and if you don't, then don't.
I'm confused a little bit because wouldn't you use one of these things in a situation where you don't need a condom? It seems like kind of not a good marketing idea. But the other thing about it is you can find a personal massager at Target. You know, you can find them anywhere. They're on the streets of every single store that you want to go to. So it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
I think
but then it's like more disguised. I mean, this is
more discreet, right?
And like over half of all the population uses them, and they talk about, you know, it's sexual health oriented, and I get all of that. I think that these Trojan hot dog carts really should be, you know, if there's a concert area of which you have to be 18 or over to get into, I think, yeah, have them in those areas or near the beer tent, whatever, that come in handy. But I don't think just out on the street for a fun fair time and a great little neighborhood block party, because then all of a sudden these parents have to explain to their kids things that they were not. What's that popsicle, mommy?
Yeah,
it's not going to do it.
And the 8-person committee that put this festival on, they vetted this thing for weeks before they approved it.
Is Trojan paying?
I want to pay. But the important thing to note is that they're doing it from 6 to 10 Saturday night. Family time is from noon to 6 when they have all the kid-friendly activities.
Right.
So presumably this is the adult time of the festival.
But it's going to be in every bag. They're giving away 400,000. Y'all, I have done a lot of research on this. 400,000 will be placed in the gift bags.
Going to be there this weekend.
4,000 will be placed in the gift bags.
No, it's 800 in the gift bags and 4,000 total.
4,000 total. 800 in gift bags.
Yeah, and how do we get these gift bags, Rochelle? It seems like you've got a line on it.
From 6 to 10.
For the grown-ups.
Yeah, but 6 o'clock, there's still kids are out there.
There's still kids
out.
out.
Lead to some uncomfortable conversations.
It's a personal massager for my neck.
Right. Okay.
Isn't that what you say when you buy
wait till your mom walks into the room.
That's what you say, right? When you buy one at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Guys, we got to talk about this other story here. Now, I want to get your take on this. And wait, first we're over to Dawn because she's also monitoring what people are saying about this very controversial topic online. Hey, Dawn.
I'm surprised, ladies. You know so much about this topic.
I
mean, the
know.
details, the times, the numbers. It's just amazing. No, but how do you explain it to your child? That's what a lot of people are saying. You know, you have toys, I have toys. I don't know. Let's look at some of the Facebook comments here. Marla Gussler-Holman says, no one ever had an unwanted pregnancy by taking matters into their own hands. Timothy Foley says, started out with Trojan commercials on prime time. Now has moved to vibrator handouts in public. Can't wait to explain this to kids. What's next? Public demonstrations? Abel Torillo says, people get over it. If you don't want one, don't take one. I'm sure they won't be saying free sex toys. This country is seriously uptight.
Okay, but they kind of do. They have a big sign, Dawn. I don't know. That's an uncomfortable conversation in my mind. But we want to move on. We're going to talk about Arizona mother. Have you heard of this story? It's so powerful. She's a mother of 7. She's in a Mexican prison, and she says the drugs that she is accused of being a mule for, carrying 12 pounds of marijuana, that they were planted on her. And that when Mexican authorities asked her for a bribe and she refused, that's when this whole thing went down. She was put in prison. She now has the U.S. State Department getting involved. A Mexican state official says that they believe this is a plant, you know, this is a fraudulent arrest. Do you believe her, I guess is the question, and does it also make you a little bit concerned about traveling to Mexico and the potential there for this kind of thing to happen?
Yeah, I do believe her. I find it very credible, but you don't really know. I mean, there's no way to know who's telling the truth until more of the evidence comes out. But the big thing is, I think as a traveler, a frequent traveler to Mexico, I feel pretty safe going to the resort areas, but it is well documented that there's all sorts of corruption among the police and the judiciary system, especially if you're in those drug trafficking routes and the border towns, which is where she was. So I think the message to travelers is, you know, if you're going to Cabo, you're pretty much going to be fine, but you have to be really careful when you go to some of these other parts of Mexico.
Yeah.
And she was on a bus, you know, within Mexico, and they're accusing her of having 12 pounds. Have you ever held a 12-pound baby? I mean, how could she have carried that much marijuana and then, you know, taped it and strapped it under her seat? They were the only Americans on that bus. I just think there are a lot of pieces here that just reek of like
I think those Mexican officials, if they would have only maybe put 6 pounds, then maybe it would be a little bit more believable. But this is something that they're known for, that they've been doing. I'm really glad that our politicians and State Department are talking with the deputy ambassador over in Mexico. It really comes down to they've got to clamp this down, and this will actually bring light to it. I think she'll be released. They're actually hoping tomorrow that she could be released, but it just brings light to an issue that's been going on for years, and in other countries as well.
You guys, we have to ask you about this too. We only have a few seconds here before we head to the break, but this politician in England speaking out with this message, and I think it's something a lot of parents have toiled with and everybody's toiled with for a long time. Stop telling your kids they're good looking. When you break down the numbers, 25% of kids, 10 to 15, now have issues about their appearance, and she believes, and she cites some research, that they're constantly being told they're pretty or they're good looking. She says adults, you know, concentrate on their skills and the things that they do well, not how they look. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like while I disagree with her making a blanket statement, she's not a parent. I mean, none of us can really say what's right to do. Every parent has to decide for themselves. But I understand the substance of it, because it does seem like when we were children, there wasn't this focus on being a Disney princess that there is today. And so many little girls are obsessed with their appearance, and they want to put on makeup, and they want to do their hair, and they want to wear the princess costume. And that seems to be maybe a little bit of a disturbing trend.
Yeah.
But what about when a little boy his body is changing and he's going from puberty to a preteen and he's a little chunky or whatever? I was telling my nephews, like, you look great, you're such a handsome young man, and oh, by the way, TT's really proud of you for getting an A on your science project. So I think you can balance it.
I totally agree, Rochelle. It's like you can praise them up for all the great things that they do, as well as being pretty, or hey, those chubby cheeks are just adorable. What's one person finds, you know, obnoxious, you can find really adorable. But I think it is important to praise them for all these other great assets in their life, so that they know, okay, it's not that I'm only being praised for my looks, but wow, yeah, I did get an A. That can make me feel just as good.
A little balance, right?
Yes.
A little balance. All right, we are going to be right back with more. Up next, Dr. Mona joins us in the chat room. She's going to be here to talk about a new Viagra pill for women and a pretty scary story about coffee linking it to mental illness. We've heard of some other issues with the caffeine, but mental illness?